Hi, my name is Catherine Orer, founder of The Artist Entrepreneur and business strategist for artists, and you're listening to The Go Creative Show.
Hey everyone, my name is Ben Consoli. I am a director and owner of BC Media Productions, and this is the Go Creative Show, the show dedicated to creative professionals in the video production and filmmaking industries. Catherine Orer is a business strategy for artists and the founder of The Artist Entrepreneur. We discuss networking, growing your business, and transitioning from art to entrepreneurship. If you're an artist and you want to turn it into a business, this is the episode to listen to. The Go Creative Show is supported by Rule Boston Camera, Buy Rent Create at Rule.com, Hedge.video, the fastest way to back up media, Shutterstock.com, Magnanimous Rentals, and PremiumBeat.com. So basically anybody in the Go Creative Show audience is probably an artist of some sort. I mean, I'm sure we've got some people out there that just like to listen. They're just fans of art. They love movies and TV shows, and they're just interested in what we have to talk about. But I think a good percentage of you guys are artists. And this episode is going to teach you how to transition from being an artist to being an entrepreneur, to being paid for the work that you do. And yes, we talk about video, but we talk about all sorts of artist endeavor as well. There's music in there. There's visual arts in there. So if you are an artist of any kind, this is an episode you don't want to miss because Catherine Orer has dedicated her life to helping us make money and become business owners with our art. So it's a really great conversation, and you guys are going to love it. But before we get there, I want to talk about Rule Boston Camera. They're the place to go to purchase and rent all of your production equipment. But they also put on great events, and they've got one coming up Thursday, March 21st. It's a learning lab, and it's called An Overview with the Preston Light Ranger 2. So I know that all of the listeners that are focus pullers certainly know what the Preston Light Ranger is. But the 2 is out, and it's got new features. It displays distance and depth information for up to 16 horizontal measurement zones across the frame. It's a 2-piece kit, so it's a sensor mounted on the camera and graphical overlay box mounted on the focus puller's monitor. And there's so much more to learn, and you can learn all of it on Thursday, March 21st at Rule. It's from 12 noon to 1. You can learn more at rule.com/learn. Of course, you have to be in Boston, but a lot of times they post these on their YouTube page. So if you can't physically be there, chances are you'll be able to check this out later on. All of the details are over at rule.com/learn, rule.com/learn. All right, it's time to dive in to our interview with Catherine Orer, talking about art and entrepreneurship. So I'm here with Catherine Orer. She is a business strategist for artists and the founder of The Artist Entrepreneur. Catherine, thank you so much for being on Go Creative Show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation today.
You are like a perfect guest for our audience because everyone here listening, they're all in the creative industries. That's why they're listening. They're here to learn and get tips and try to figure out ways to build their business, build their art. And that is what you do. So we are so happy to have you here.
Well, I'm really happy to share my knowledge and talk strategy with you.
So tell us what the Artist Entrepreneur is. I know that's your website, but it's also kind of your business, your philosophy, and I'd love to start there.
Okay, well, basically, the Artist Entrepreneur is part consulting, part coaching, part community business. And what our mission is really to bring together your creativity and business savvy, right? Because I believe with all the years of experience I have working with artists from all walks of life, I believe that artists can make kick-ass entrepreneurs, but they just don't give themselves a chance, right? They don't give themselves a chance to try. They don't give themselves a chance to fail. And they have these beliefs that they are not good at business. And I feel that is not true. And I'm here to bridge that gap and show to the world that artists can make amazing entrepreneurs.
It's interesting to hear you say that because I almost feel like, I honestly do. I feel like artists aren't necessarily the best business people. And maybe I'm wrong. I hope I am. But I don't know. It just feels like artists sometimes just get so caught up in their art and they don't see the art in business in a way. You know what I mean? It's like they would focus hours and hours and hours into making something perfect, their art perfect, but very little time trying to make their business work. And maybe it's not a matter of not being good at it, but maybe it's just a matter of not focusing on it. Do you find that?
Yes, exactly. You've drawn a perfect picture, because I think that, there's a belief that they're not good, or that artists, they're not good at business, but partly it's because they don't have the competencies or the knowledge, right? Because most creatives come out of school, and nobody in school has given them any direction around, how this is going to all work out for them financially once they finish school, right? So that's the first thing. So it's not because they're not good at it. If you don't know how to ride a bike, right, you're not going to be good at riding the bike. So first, usually they don't have the knowledge. And then once they start trying to do it themselves, they quickly become overwhelmed. And again, that belief of, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm not good at this, it's never going to work out. And then all these negative self-talk happens, and everybody was right about me and about artists. We can't make this work. So you know what? I'm just going to go back to whatever the craft or that I was doing, and I'm just going to concentrate on that. The problem with that, in a perfect world, that would be great if you could just work, 100% of your time on your craft and not have to think about marketing it or growing your business. But the truth is, if you're not your first fan, right? If you're not taking care of your own career first, you can't expect others to do it, right? People are not going to discover what you're doing if they don't know that you're doing it. So and then it's when understanding what growing a business and marketing means, and selling. And it's not just about selling in exchange of money, but it can also mean pitching to get funding, or to get a grant, or to get into a gallery, or to get an agent, right? So you need to learn to either sell what it is you're creating, or sell yourself to build those partnerships to move ahead in your career, if that makes sense.
It does. And I think a lot of times people aren't as confident about their work. I feel, and this is obviously in general terms, but I feel like artists generally are super critical of their own work and may not feel confident enough. And you can't really be an entrepreneur without confidence almost. It's like you kind of have to have that unwavering confidence to move ahead with business. And I think artists sometimes have that little voice inside of them saying, you're not good enough, your work isn't good enough. And those two things don't mesh very well.
I've worked with entrepreneurs, not just creatives and artists. And I have a wide network of entrepreneurs in my life. And let me tell you, Ben, that is not just artists, okay? Everybody has this imposter syndrome of, who am I to think that I can do this? Who am I to think that this is going to work? Who am I to think that people are going to pay for my work, right? It's not just at the beginning. It's through your journey. There's always going to be opportunities for you to up-level, and it's going to be scary, right? But it's really what happens on the other side of your comfort zone that is the magic. That's where the magic happens, right? So it's not just artists. I think it's us humans, right, who have a tendency to think that everybody else gets it except us, right? And there's something that everybody else knows that we don't. But the truth is, when you start collaborating, building a network, surrounding yourself with people who have similar goals, have similar values, want the same things in life, then you have the support system to help you move ahead. And I feel that it's if you're trying to set up a business or grow your career, look at who you're hanging with, look who the people who are around you, and ask yourself, are these people helping me rise, or are they keeping me down? And that's really a big key to getting the confidence that you need to move out of your comfort zone and reach your goals.
Everything you're saying is making me feel like you have a really holistic approach to this, where you're talking about your mindset. You're talking about the work that you do, obviously, but also the mindset, the people that you are around. It's an interesting approach.
Well, when I work with my clients, I work on I have three pillars, basically. So the first one, I'm a business strategist. So when I started my business, I was all about strategy. I used to do strategic planning in corporations and NGOs, and then in arts organizations. So I've worked in galleries, I've sold the art, I've done the art fairs. So I've worked in cultural industries. So when I started, it was all about the strategy. But then, working with artists and more artists from all different mediums and practices and walks of life, I realized strategy isn't enough, right? Just having the strategy is not enough to make someone succeed. So you need the strategy, but then you need the implementation, right? It's one thing to have strategy on paper, but how are you going to implement it? How are you going to track your progress? See if the market wants what you want to put on the market. How are you going to get feedback from the market and then tweak and pivot and change what it needs to change to make it work for you and your career without, and I just want to put a caveat here, without ever, my goal is never to compromise your creative integrity, but it's rather how to find the right market or niche for what it is that you want to create. I just wanted to add that part. And then the third part, but then it's like, okay, some people have the strategy, they're really good, they push, they implement, but then something happens and everything falls right into pieces. And you're like, well, what happened there? And that's really the mindset part. It's the energy that you're bringing to the table, what's being said in your own little how do you say, a board, right? We say, Some of us, we talk about, we have our internal board meetings there, so what happens during those internal board meetings, what energy, identity, and beliefs that you're bringing to the table that are either helping you or sabotaging you to reach your goals. So those are really the strategy, the follow through implementation, and mindset are the three aspects that I work with artists, because like I said, I've worked with a lot of artists, and I know that if one of those legs are missing, then the table's not going to hold still.
Can you walk us through the steps? So let's say we start at its most basic. We have an individual artist who loves the work that they're doing, but has, a full-time job that they don't like, and they want to figure out a way to transition to be working on their art and turning that into a business of some sort. How would you advise that person, and what would be the steps to kind of self-assess where you are and figure out next steps?
Okay, so this is something that takes quite some time to explain, but I'm going to try to distill it as its most simple expression. So the first thing, and those of you who are listening who follow me are going to be like, oh, I know what she's going to say. So the first thing is your vision. Okay, so you need to get really clear on what it is that you want, because selling my art, right, or getting a deal is not a vision. Okay, it really doesn't give you a proper view of what it is that you're creating. So you need to get clear on what it is that you're creating. The same way that when you're creating your art, whatever practice it is that you're in, you have a vision for it. You need to have that same overarching vision for your life, for your business, the career that you're creating for yourself. Okay, because without that, you're kind of just walking in the dark, right? So you need to get really clear, do some market research, get to know your industry, see what others are doing, dig deep, and get clear on what it is that you want. So that's the first thing.
So, but before we move on to two, so let's just, if we were to break that down, so we have an individual filmmaker, okay?
Yeah.
You ask them what's their vision, they tell you, I want to sell my films.
Yeah.
You would say that isn't really enough vision and you need to think more. So what would be a more in-depth vision for this hypothetical person we're talking about?
Well, I don't know because I'm not that person, but I
Sure.
would ask the question, why 5 times?
Okay.
Okay, so why, like, I want to produce a film or I want to create a film. Okay, why? Well, because I have a message to share with the world. Okay, why? And then, like, go deeper, right?
Yes.
Ask yourself why you're doing these things, because you know what? It's going to get harder before it gets easier. And if you're not really anchored into why you're doing this, that's when the follow through and the mindset is going to stay at the door.
Yep.
Okay, so you need to get really clear on that. And also because that's going to inform the second part, which is get clear on what your message is, right? So what are you all about, right? What is it? So if you want to make films, there's probably a reason for it. There's probably, you have a mission, you want to share a message, you want to share with the world, right? A lot of artists tell me, I don't believe in making money. I don't believe artists should me money. It takes us out of our artistic integrity. And I tell them, well, don't you want to create an impact? Oh yes, I have these ideas of creating an impact in the world. And I say, well, the only way you're going to create impact is if you make more money, because that's the way you're going to buy your equipment or your materials, or you'll be able to travel, or you'll be able to do bigger scale work, right? So there's a reason why you want to do all these things. It's not just money so I can buy a new car.
Yeah.
It's money so that you can bring to life your vision.
That resonates with me a lot. I've been doing video production for 15 years or so. So I'm constantly questioning, like, why am I why am I working on this particular project? What is it that my, goals are as a company and all that? It never stops. Even after you develop what you think is the vision, it continues changing. However, what I've noticed is I try to put that into my director's treatments. So like when I'm going to get a job and we talk about the goals of the project, I never talk about, the company that we're working for getting more sales or, reaching a certain amount of people or changing their demographics. It's always something else. It's about making an impact or changing an industry or it's never about the money when I pitch the idea to a customer. I know it's not exactly what, you're talking about here, but as far as creating a vision, I think it's helpful even beyond just your own business.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because, making money, like it's not like, maybe people will listen and say, well, yeah, for me, it is a source of motivation, but trust me, it just gets quickly, it gets boring pretty quickly, right? If you don't have something bigger that drives you, the money is not going to be the thing that's going to make you get up in the morning. Maybe it will for the first couple of months, but then it's not going to be enough.
Yeah.
And it's not also going to attract and create. You're not going to be able to create the traction around who you are and your brand if you're just about making the money, because nobody wants to be around people like that or support people like that.
Clients
right?
want to know that you have a vision for their project.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
what they want. So we're talking about, go ahead.
Yeah. And it's the same thing if you're approaching an art gallery. It's the same thing if you're writing for a grant. It's the same thing if you're looking for an agent to represent you, right? If you're just talking about money, you want people to take a chance on you, right? Especially if you're not making money, you want people to take a chance on you.
Yes.
Well, you need to be able to pitch them something that's bigger than you and that includes them, like that's inclusive, that they recognize themselves in that as well.
I love that. Okay, so number one was vision.
Yeah.
What is number two?
Well, we're actually talking about it. It's your message, right? What is it that you want to communicate? Why is it that you're doing it? What's your mission, right? It's really the second thing you need to get clear on, because the vision is more about you and where you see yourself going. And the mission or the message is more about how it impacts others, right? How it serves others. You see the difference?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect. And then I would say the third aspect would be your network, right? Once you're clear on what it is that you want to do, how it's going to help other people, then you need to start building a network, right? Because you're not going to be doing it all by yourself. You're going to need partners, you're going to need clients, whatever it is that you're doing. You're going to need an ecosystem that gravitates around you, right? A business is not something that you build alone. Even if you're alone in the business, if you don't have clients, partners, suppliers, it's not going to, if you don't have a community, like I said early on, of people who are behind you and who are supporting you, it's going to be very hard. People say you're the average of the 5 people you hang out the most with, but I think that's true. So you need to set up a network because a business is just, it's all about relationship building, and you need to start building relationships that will help you get forward with that vision of yours.
And when you talk about these relationships, do you have advice on whether there's an advantage to face-to-face versus online communities?
Oh, wow. Well, it really depends what it is that you're building, and it depends on your business model, right? It depends on so many things, but I think there's a lot of value in having face-to-face conversations, face-to-face meetings. But I also feel that there's now with the internet and social media, there's so much that can be done. But I think that there's this hype around, because I work more with visual artists, I have a lot of visual artists who come to me and they're like, I hear you can sell your art on Instagram. Can you show me, what is it? I do 2-3 posts and then people buy my art. And then they do 2-3 posts and they're like, why is it not working? Right? Why is it not working? And then that's probably going to lead me to my 4th step if we have time to talk about it.
Of course we do. But we're in this for the long haul.
But Ben, it's it's not just about social media. It's not just about it. There's the word social in it, right? And a lot of people forget that it's if you want social media to work for you, you need to use it the same way you would use it a networking event, right? It's about relationship building. So it's not just about pushing stuff out there, but it's about engaging, building relationships, and taking things to the next level, then maybe taking it off social media to be able to build business relationships or opportunities. But it's not just, I'm going to just push my music or my videos and, cross my fingers that somebody's going to see it. It's about having an overall strategy, but also engaging and building those relationships online.
And it's so hard to do. It really is. I think your first cluster of followers and people that pay attention to your work and are interested in your work is relatively easy to get, but then you hit a lull and you start realizing, if I want to get past this hurdle, I need to do something different. And, where do you turn to there? Do you recommend just continuing to build relationships, or do you recommend spending money to advertise your work, or where do you go from that point?
Okay. So first, before you even do that, usually when I do website audits or Instagram audits of my clients, there's a branding problem. Okay. So before you throw money at advertising, which I don't say that it's not a good idea, but before you throw money at it, because here's a nugget then. Something that's not working organically will not work if you throw money at it. Okay. Yeah. So if your engagement level, considering the small amount of people who are following you, if what you're throwing at them or sharing with them isn't working, it's not going to work because you're adding money to the problem, right? So you need to figure out, and that's my lean startup background that's talking here, but you need to figure out what's working organically. And then when you found your secret sauce, right, then you throw money at it to scale it.
Huh, that's smart.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And usually one of the problems is branding. And that's something artists resist a lot, right? Branding, because
Yeah. Why do you
they don't
think?
like the word, right? Obviously, because they don't want to be associated with a logo, with a brand. And that's not really what I mean when I talk about branding. When I talk about branding, I think it's Amazon Bezos who said, branding is what people say about you when you're not around.
Mm.
Right. So if
I
they're
love
glad,
that. I never heard that quote before.
yeah. So if people are browsing through your Instagram and half of it is what you ate for lunch and photos of your cat and a couple of your recent videos, maybe clips, that, like, do you run a business, or is this like your side Sunday activity?
Yeah. It doesn't
Right.
say much about the person, about the business.
And it's not, you're not building the know, like, trust factors with that. Like, if you want people to buy from you, they need to trust you. Nobody's going to buy from you if they don't trust you. And social media, what can we do? I mean, you can be against it, but what can you do? People need to have that instant feedback. So if they're looking at and right now, like, for creatives, I mean, if there's one platform you need to master, it's Instagram. And I mean, there's no reason why you can't have your private Instagram where you do your doggy tricks and and just like
Yes.
the whole sequence of how many teeth your daughter lost or whatever. Like, do a private Instagram for that. It's totally fine. I'm nothing against it. But if you want to be taken seriously by the big guns, you first need to show up like one, right? It's like, is you don't dress for the job that you have, you dress for the job that you want. So it's the same thing when you're showing up on Instagram. So usually when things aren't working and you've hit a plateau, it's because you want to reach out of your network, right? You want to blossom and nurture a network that's larger. But the people who are following you, they're people who know you, right? So they don't really they find it funny that you do all these other things, right? Because they already know you. But if you're trying to extend your network, then you need to show up not in the way that you are today, but really envisioning and having that identity of the person you want to become.
Mm. Similar advice was given to me a few years back because my Instagram was a mixture of professional and personal photography.
Mm-hmm.
And I shouldn't even say photography because some stuff just was photos of whatever was going on, vacations, or like you said, your pets and stupid things.
Yeah.
And the advice to me was, because I had gone to a business consultant at that time and made a couple changes, and part of a large collection of advice, one thing was you have to make sure that your social media is all aligned, reflects what it is that you want from a professional standpoint. So get rid of some of those personal things that aren't really getting any traction and have nothing to do with what you want. It has nothing to do with the jobs you want. And it was great advice because after I made those changes, I did see a change in the response that I was getting. I basically started focusing heavily on just behind the scenes images from my commercial shoots. And it has become something where people that go to my Instagram feed know that they're going to be faced with behind the scenes. And it's great because people are always like, oh, wow, you're constantly working. And it's like, if I weren't posting those things, no one would know when I was working. And for me, it's important that people know that I'm working a lot.
Absolutely. I mean, an artist who's not working, I was just having a similar conversation with a client, but like, if you're not creating, well, what interest do I have in connecting with you, right? So call me when you have something to show me, right? That's what you'll hear. And and it's relevant advice that you got. And I just want to add to that, it doesn't mean that it needs to become blah and take out your whole personality out of it, right?
Yeah.
You can still infuse your personality into it and your lifestyle and your values, right? You just have to show up in a way and ask yourself, well, the people that I want to talk to, whether it's high-end collectors or film producers or recording labels or whoever, like, will they take this seriously if they come across this, or will they just move on to somebody else, right? If I ask someone who I know has a referral to refer me, will they feel confident referring me with the online brand that I'm showing right now, or no, right? Because we all have people in our network who know someone who can help us move forward. And if people, every time you're trying to get that person to maybe schedule something for you or introduce you or maybe take you to that next event that they keep going to and you know it would help you, and it turns out they never do invite you, you need to look within. There's a reason. And it's not because all of these people don't want to help or they're all against you. Like, if everybody else is not support, like, you need to look within and see what's wrong. And openly you can ask. And if these people are trustworthy and they're really your friends, they're going to tell you what's wrong. And I think there's a lot to be said about listening to other people's feedback.
Have you guys used those Fujinon zoom lenses that are E-mount for Sony cameras? There's an 18 to 55, a 50 to 135. These lenses are amazing. I love these things. Now, I have a lot of Sony lenses here. My director of photography, Chris Loughran, he uses an FS7. So we've got lots of E-mounts here at BC Media Productions. And these lenses are great. They're lightweight. They're zoom lenses, which is great, so you don't need to carry around a million lenses. And they're just so high quality. I love these things. So if you want to try one, it's easy. Just go to magrents.com, magrents.com. It's the website for Magnanimous Rentals, which is an equipment rental house based in Chicago, but they ship everywhere in the country. So don't worry. If you don't live in Chicago, have no fear. You can go to magrents.com and take advantage of their great prices. Here's the thing. They already have great prices. But on top of that, every order submitted at magrents.com gets a discount. And then they have these things called flash discounts, which are super steeply discounted items, sometimes even 50%, but they're limited time discounts. So if you go to their site and you see the red, there's like a red price alert right there, right on their homepage. I'm looking at it right now. It's a flash discount. So for a limited time, you get a great discount. And I'm looking right now, they've got an Aria Alexa Mini kit right there on their site under flash discount. They got a Red Weapon 8K. And these are for a limited time. So you got to go to Magrents every day and see what they have to offer. Magrents.com, magrents.com. And lastly, let's talk about Hedge. Hedge is a backup software for filmmakers. It's super fast. It's very easy. And they are constantly updating the app. In fact, 19.1 just came out recently, and they introduced a new feature called queuing with 2 new ways to control your transfer: single source and single transfer. Let me explain single source for a moment. Imagine you've got 3 media cards to back up, but only one is super important because that one's got to go back to your camera operator so you can continue with your day. Now, in this situation, it doesn't really matter what the total time of the offload is because only one source needs to be done immediately. This is what single source is for because it prioritizes sources based on when they're connected. So the first one in, first one out. Now, it's this type of control that we love having with Hedge, as well as all of their other great features. They are constantly updating the app. So the best thing to do is just check it out for yourself. Head over to hedge.video/Go Creative Show, and you will get a 20% off discount from the full license by simply going to the coupon code at checkout and typing in Go Creative Show. How about that? Super easy. And they've got all sorts of other programs too. You can connect to your phone. They've got Canister for LTO. It just goes on and on and on. And the best thing to do is head over to hedge.video/Go Creative Show and learn all about it. So we're talking about promotion here, and I know we may have veered from the steps. I'm not sure. I think we ended at 4, but it's great discussion regardless.
Yeah.
So let's take a couple steps back. So we've our hypothetical video professional that we talked about.
Yes.
That person has figured out their vision. They figured out what their message is. So their vision is to make a huge impact on the healthcare community by focusing their work on creating videos that share, incredible stories in healthcare advances, something like that.
Perfect.
It's all healthcare.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now it's at the point where they're trying to create their personal brand. They've got an Instagram of some stills from the videos that they've worked on. But they're at that point now where we know what we want to do. Mm-hmm. We've been able to do some of it at lower levels, but now we need to really invest in our company, invest in ourselves, and take it to the next level.
Yeah.
What is your advice for that person at that point in their career?
There's so many directions this thing could take, but I would say it depends, because usually, like, you need to figure out where your bottleneck is. Okay. Like, when you're at a certain point where you're listening to us talking and you're like, I don't get it. I'm doing all of these things. My marketing's good, because we didn't really go into marketing and sales. But I mean, you have your sales channels, you have your marketing, and like, what is it? Like, what's going on that my business is just at a certain bottleneck and nothing's moving? So usually I like to ask my clients to figure out where they stand on these 3 levels. And usually that gives them the insight on their next steps. So do you want me to share those with you?
Sure. Okay.
So the first one is, are you attracting enough leads? Okay. So is the problem that you don't have, like, are you in meetings? Are you meeting people? Are you pitching the work? Are you making calls? Are you networking? Are you out there meeting people? Or if it's an online business, are there people coming on your website, right? Are they subscribing to your email list, right? Are there people joining your Instagram? Do you have enough qualified leads, right, to grow your business? And usually when you're at a certain level in your business, you can reverse engineer when you have a certain number of leads, how many sales it's going to give you, and then you can do sales projections. Okay. But that's a whole other podcast interview. So do you have enough leads, right? Yes or no? Maybe you do have enough leads. Yes, I'm meeting all these people. People are inviting me to pitch. I'm pitching, but I'm still not getting the contracts, right? So maybe your problem is you're having difficulty converting your leads into sales, right? I look at my analytics and there's like, I have a lot of people driving traffic there's a lot of traffic on my website. Nobody's buying, right? So then you need to look at, okay, you're not converting properly. So why is it that you're not converting properly? Is it because the offer and maybe your target audience and the offer that you're making is not aligned? Maybe what your price point is not appropriate for the clientele that you're trying to reach. Maybe you need to take a class in public speaking because your pitches aren't convincing when you're going to meet the client. Maybe you're not competitive, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe that's where the problem stands, and that's where you need to fix it. And then the third bottleneck could be your production, right? So basically, like you were saying, like, I'm working, right? But the business is not growing because I'm the only one who's creating, who's doing the outreach, who's doing everything. So I'm missing opportunities, or maybe the quality level of my work is not good enough because I'm doing all these things. So now my problem is at a internal production area, which means that I need to look at maybe streamlining my operations or hiring someone or niching it down to gain productivity, et cetera, right? There can be different options. But usually everyone I speak to, it's one of those 3. So they don't have enough leads, or they have difficulty converting the leads into sales, or they have the sales, but now they've hit a bottleneck because they're doing everything in the business and that's keeping them from growing.
What do you think are the common mistakes that people make? I understand those are common bottlenecks, and they're right. I mean, I have hit all 3 of those at various points in my career, that's for sure. And I think the most recent one is that balance between doing the work and finding the work. Because if you don't when you are, just to take a small side tangent here, because I know a lot of people are in the video industry listening. If you find that your workload is, you have tons and tons of work to do, you're busy, you're on set all the time, and then you are, the next month is trying to find the next client. And then it's another round of busy, then you're not doing anything but finding the next client. You do not have like a level, I don't know how to phrase it, but like your workflow is spiking. And
yes, absolutely. We see that a lot with solopreneurs, right? Absolutely.
When you have those spikes, it's impossible to get out of that rut because you're afraid to hire someone, because you're like, well, how can I hire someone? Because if I hire them, they're going to end up not working 3 months. Then they won't work in February, but they'll work in March. There's no consistency. If you can figure out a way to level that out and get consistency, that opens up the opportunity for you to start hiring people, because then the people you hire will be working consistently. And just leveling that out is super important. And I'm very much in the process of trying to do that. It's hard though. It's really, really hard. It takes a leap of faith because you have to trust other people with things that you would otherwise be in control of.
Yes. And you were saying, like, what are the top mistakes that I see? I think one of the top mistakes that I see is the false belief that you're the only one who can do it.
We've all fell to that thought. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I sometimes also do, like, every stage of the business when it grows and I need to delegate a new task, a new segment of the business. Every time the first reaction is going to be, well, I'm the only one who, no, I can't delegate that part. No, I'm not the only one who can do this. Everybody, like, there's something, a part of it that, my recommendation is start small. Start with one small task. But pretty soon, you'll see how much it's going to free up space on your plate so that even when you're in spike periods, you can still take meetings and you can still do business development to avoid those moments when you have nothing and then you start worrying and you're anxious that it's all going to fall apart.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, right? It's when you invest in the business that you get that solid foundation that you need to have that consistent revenue. And the number one reason that people don't do it is because they think that nobody else will do it as well as they can. And it's not true.
Yeah, I can see that being a huge problem. And everyone, I think a lot of our audience has felt that way. I certainly have many times, but it's better on the other side, I promise you.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And you know what? You're going to have people who are not going to deliver, and you're going to have people who are not maybe going to deliver the quality that you expected, and you're going to learn from it. Like, nobody's going to die. It's just you're going to learn from the experience, and you're going to get out of it, and you're going to figure it out, and you're going to do better next time, and you're going to hire someone that's more qualified, or you're going to know better questions to ask before hiring, and you're just going to learn through that process. And I promise, nobody's going to die.
You're going to get better at identifying talent too. You're going to just you'll learn what qualities, you'll learn from the moment somebody walks in your door if it's going to work or not. And those skills are not going to be acquired if you don't start. If you don't start,
if you don't try, and you don't have to delegate everything at once, right? You can go step by step. The first lowest hanging fruit that you think, okay, well, at least if I can delegate 3 hours, right, a week, then it gives me, and that's the other key part. Okay. So nature doesn't like void, right? So if you're hiring someone who's taking 3 hours of work out of your plate on a weekly basis, you already need to know what you're going to replace those 3 hours with. And I recommend that they be revenue generating activities.
Yes.
Right. So, because otherwise you're just going to get into busy work and you're going to be like, I don't even know how I was doing before that person took 3 hours out of my plate because I'm still as busy as I was earlier.
Yep.
Right. So you need to identify what are the key actions in your business, the key tasks, what are revenue generating activities, and you need to block off time to strategize and execute them. Otherwise, you're not, or like, I remember the first person I hired who I gave 5 hours of work to, it was because I didn't have room in my calendar to exercise. And I said, if I want to be a good mother, business owner, coach for my clients, I need to rise my energy levels. I need to exercise more. I simply don't have time. So I outsourced 5 hours, but I booked those 5 hours to train, right? So whatever it is, why it is that you're hiring someone, if it's to do more business development or because you need more time for self-care, you need to block it in your calendar, because otherwise busy work is just going to creep in and you're going to be at the same place where you started.
I love that. And I'm so glad you said that about the personal care. It's so, so important.
Yes.
It's usually the first thing to go for me. I'll just be like, should I throw another, an hour into emails, or should I work out? It's a tough decision to make, especially after a long day. That is for sure.
Oh, you're right. It's a tough one, and I still struggle with it. And it depends on our energy levels. It depends on so many things. But the truth is, that hour that you were going to take to answer emails, if you step away from the computer to take care of your mind and your body, when you come back, it's maybe going to take you 15 or 20 minutes to do.
You are listening to the PremiumBeat.com Song of the Week. It's called Success Story by Vincent Tone. Premium Beat is where to go for all of your royalty-free music and sound effects. When you go to PremiumBeat.com, you get access to a collection of thousands of royalty-free tracks for as low as $59 each. And the best part is you don't just get the single track. You get cut downs, you get loop sets, you get stems. So you're really given full customization to make the song that you love fit your project perfectly. It's all there, PremiumBeat.com. And lastly, let's talk about Shutterstock.com. Now, don't get overwhelmed, but Shutterstock.com has over 14 million royalty-free video clips. Many of them are in 4K. They have over 100,000 clips added weekly on average. So it's easy to think to yourself, well, how am I going to find what I'm looking for among millions and millions and millions and millions of clips? Well, I don't know what they do behind the scenes, but every time I look for something, I find exactly what I'm looking for. I think it really is because the quality of the footage at Shutterstock.com is so high that you're just always going to find something good. But I'll tell you what I do. I go to Shutterstock.com, I click on footage, and I go down to curated collections. And the reason I do that is because I kind of want to see some categories. I want to see what Shutterstock thinks is the best of the best, put into interesting categories. And I go there first all the time. And most of the time, everything that I kind of want to find is right there already in a great category. I use Shutterstock, of course, for stock footage from my video work, but I also use it for my director's treatments and just different ways to explain what our vision is for a project. And you go to something like the curated collections and you find these great categories and you're able to just drill down to the clips that are the most relevant for you at that moment. So that's really what I suggest. In fact, I just did a project that was kind of this overhead food photography, food videography type of a project. And we incorporated some stock footage. And I went over there and I immediately found a library called Foodie Paradise. And wow, it was exactly what I was looking for. And the quality was so great. So the best thing to do is head right over there, check it out for yourself, Shutterstock.com. So we've identified one common mistake as thinking that you're the only person that could do the work. And it's very common. A lot of people have it. I've gone through that too. Let's try to tackle one more with our last remaining, 5-10 minutes or so. What's another big mistake that a lot of creatives have?
Another one that I see a lot is associating selling with selling out. Okay. And all this conversation and this mindset around selling that, to be a good salesperson, you have to be pushy, you have to be salesy, having difficulty asking for the right price for the services that you offer or for the work that you put in the world. Like it's a bad thing to want to be compensated appropriately for your work. And one of the things artists of all industries are often also, it's I think there's a lot of education that needs to be done in the world around the work of artists, because a lot of artists get opportunities in exchange for visibility, right? Ben, come do this video for us. We don't have budget, but your video will be seen by the whole industry. So
we have all heard that before, that's for sure.
Right? So artists think they have to say yes to that because it's an opportunity, right? But they don't. And they need to start valuing their work. They need to be good at knowing their industry, knowing what people are paying in the industry, do their research, pitch themselves, and know the value of what it is that they're putting out there, and learn selling skills so that they can play at the same level playing field as the person in front of them. Because the person in front of them isn't shy about negotiating, isn't shy about offering you visibility for your work. You shouldn't be shy to ask what it is that your work is worth on the market.
I love that. And it's very, very interesting. And I know a lot of us are faced with those questions. Should I do the job? I know it's not really paid well, but it's good exposure. What does that mean? I've definitely gone down that road many times. Sometimes it's worked out, but I got to be honest, more often than not, you're kind of just doing a project for either free or very low budget. You really need to think about what the benefits are and how you're going to utilize them. There could be great benefits, but it could be. But
it's also about, I'm sorry, Ben,
take it.
It's about learning negotiation. When I said selling skill, it's also learning negotiation skills, right? If the person wants to do it give it to you for visibility, then write up a contract on what that visibility is going to be, right? Don't just leave it up to them to, you trust their good judgment that they're going to give you visibility, right? And when people tell me it's going to give you great visibility, I say, you know what? I really appreciate it. But when I have to go to the grocery store to buy my children food, the grocery store doesn't accept payment in visibility, okay? They accept payment in cash. So that's what I accept as well.
So our hypothetical video producer that we've been talking about that has now, they're started their healthcare video industry business, and some big fancy hospital came up to them and said, hey, I have no money, but I want you to do a video for us. We're going to show it to our entire, here's a perfect example. A big healthcare company comes to you and says to that person, we have no money, but we want you to do a video and we're going to show it at some big giant conference, this once-a-year conference that has these worldwide heads of marketing from, healthcare companies. That is a perfect example of, yes, you may have to do this video for free, but if you're the type of person that has built up the skills that you've been talking about, Catherine, you can utilize those contacts. And I think what you said was really smart, putting in your contract what that exposure actually means. So that
negotiate it. Can you have a seat at the table? Is there a panel that you can be part of? Will they give you videos, testimonials of their experience working with you? Will you be invited at their VIP cocktail so you can meet all the marketing heads, right? Following up on your example, right? Will your name be and your logo as a sponsor all over their marketing material, right? It's because it's sad. It's just so sad. People take advantage of creatives because you are so passionate and you just want to make that video because you're so excited. You'll do it for free, right?
Yeah.
But you have to be business savvy. And if they're asking you one thing, you need to be prepared to say, okay, and this is what I want. If you want me, this is what I want at the end.
That is such a great idea. Those things like getting a seat at the table, the VIP, all that stuff. That is really, really smart.
Yeah, because it doesn't cost them anything to do that. But, how are you going to get business, right? So let's say for visual artists, they often ask to donate a piece for an auction, right? And then I hear, I'm like, okay, but are you going to be at the auction? Oh no, they asked me to drop off the piece at 11 in the morning. And if it doesn't sell, I go pick it up the day after. I'm like, no, that's unacceptable. At least you have to have a place at the table. At least it's like doesn't cost them more to give you that visibility, because, okay, if I can't do it, you need to ask yourself, you need to be 2 steps ahead. If I'm not going to make business with that event, how can that event lead me to more business? And the other thing is, if people start knowing, like if you keep saying yes to too much free production, the word is going to circulate pretty quickly. Like, oh, I don't have a budget. Who should I call? Oh, call Ben. He'll do it for free. Right. So you need to be careful too, because if you don't want to be, and well, why can't you give us a discount? I heard you did it for free for them. Right. So you're building a business here, not a charity. If you want to do charity work, fine. Find yourself a cause, give to that cause.
Great advice. I wish we had 3 hours to talk. I mean, we like only chipped away at my list of questions, but it's
absolutely
all the more reason to have
so much.
You do. All the more reason to have you back, and all the more reason for people to learn more about you and hire you. I mean, that's kind of the whole crux here, is that people can hire you to help them advise their business. I mean, tell us just in the last couple of minutes, kind of tell us what you do in a nutshell and where people can find more about you.
Okay, so they can find me on my website, theartistentrepreneur.com. My handle on Instagram is my full name, Catherine Orer. And what I do, well, I do consulting. So we have done for you services where we can do writing or marketing services for you. But the bulk of my business is I do business strategy coaching. And I have an exclusive business incubator that's called the Artist Entrepreneur Lab. And it's a community of artists, and it includes trainings, coaching, and this community of artists. And we work together every day to take your business to the next level. It's an amazing group of artists. I love working with them. I have no doubt some of them are listening right now. And it's been such an honor to watch the artists in there go from being not confident, being underpaid, not being sure about what their creative direction is, and just seeing them blossom into savvy business owners, and seeing their creativity, seeing them nurture their creativity and taking that also to the next level. It's just amazing, and I'm humbled that people are joining and that it's creating a movement.
I love it. Theartistentrepreneur.com. You also have some free resources here. People go to that website and go to the resource library. You have some stuff that you guys can snag for free. If you just want to take a look at what's going to be offered to you here. But honestly, I strongly suggest it. I've been learning more about Catherine this week as I prepped for the interview, and you are so committed to helping creatives make money and create more art, really. And we're so happy to have you out there in the world doing your thing. And thank you for being on the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was a true pleasure to speak to you.
There she goes, Catherine Orer, founder of The Artist Entrepreneur. Check out her website, theartistentrepreneur.com. And if you're like me and can't spell and you get nervous by big words, just head over to Go Creative Show and we'll give you a link right to it. You know we will. You can also check out Matt Russell because he mixes and masters and makes the show sound so good. You can find him over at gainstructure.com, gainstructure.com, and on Twitter at gainstructure. While you're on Twitter, send us a message. Let us know what you think of the show. If you have any guest suggestions, you can find us at Go Creative Show on Twitter, at Go Creative Show. And of course, our sponsors, Hedge.video, Rule Boston Camera, Magnanimous Rentals, Shutterstock, and Premium Beat. Without these people, the show wouldn't exist. So please support those that support us, and we will keep coming at you with new episodes every week. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.